This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's go. Get on your mark, let's go. What you waiting for? There's so much more. The future's yours. Let go, explore. It's yours for sure. Same with me with fear. So to God I stay near. I keep my hand to the plow. There's no turning back now. My future look bleak. I decided to see. He said follow me. On the journey you'll see. Get on your mark, let's go. What you waiting for? There's so much more. There's so much more. I love Saturdays. What up, y'all? This is Shawnell Brown, and this is Lessons from the Journey Live. I love, love, love Saturday. I love coming here with you. I love giving you nuggets, jewels, and gems. And today, I'm about to get naked. I don't know if you can tell. Well, I got my hat on, so there's a little bit of shadow. Producer Dre already went through the whole thing about the fact there's a shadow on my face. But you know what? I am very much unapologetically unscripted and unfiltered. I want to wear my hat. I like my hat, and my hat creates a shadow on my face. Are you going to be okay? You're going to be okay. And you know why you're going to be okay? Because we're about to drop some jewels, gems, tips, and tricks to help you master the game of life. So don't worry about my shadow and don't worry about my hat. You just get the lessons that to win. All right, that's my little rant. And now let me introduce my guest. You know, if you on Lessons from the Journey Live, we have a relationship of some sort. I don't just bring people into this space that I don't genuinely know, respect, love, care for, and I know they're going to authentically give you what you need to be successful. And my friend Stephanie Sherwood, my sister friend, is no different. We're going to talk a lot today about authenticity, being 100% yourself when it's uncomfortable. The conversation is a conversation between sisters that you get the privilege of experiencing. So without further ado, I'm going to invite my sister Stephanie to the conversation. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome.
Hello. And I just want to say this is real and live. And if you can hear my neurotic dog barking in the background, he's old and senile and he's having a sundowner experience right now.
Listen, I'm having a sundowner experience this whole week. This week has been wild. So we're going to let him have his sundowner experience. And like I said, Lessons from the Journey Live is unscripted, it's unfiltered. We don't plan it. So if dogs are barking and shadows are on my face and lights flicker, that is what it is. You come here because of what we provide. You don't come here because the optics are always beautiful. One day they will be. Trust and believe. But anyway, Stephanie, let me get back to this conversation. How are you? And can you tell the people what you do, who you are?
I'm Stephanie Sherwood, and I am all about transformation. And I do a couple of things. I run a women's Christian focused women's networking organization called the Tapestry Network. And I am also launching my publishing company called She Creates Legacy Publishing. I know, I'm so excited. And I am all about supporting women, all women. You don't have to be a believer. And my desire is for women to be set free, to walk in their identity. My heart really is for the Christian entrepreneur. That's where I feel like I can serve best, show up in my fullest. And, having been buried with lies since probably conception. And I would have to say that you were probably one of the first people that really broke that down for me. That the things that happen in utero happen, like they become part of who we are. The DNA of our moms get passed down to us. We also have, generational patterns and strongholds and all of that. I am just I completed the front cover of my newest book today. I'm so excited, and it's called The Legacy Reset. And I'll have to give props where props are due. Oh, my book isn't here. Um, in So I had a really difficult summer.
Hmm.
We had a really difficult couple of years,
Yeah.
and Sean has walked alongside me the whole time. Sometimes like in my face, and sometimes kind of on the peripheral. But Sean really challenged me this summer about, am I a codependent? And I've also been told over the years, you might have an orphan spirit. And I didn't have to, I had a choice. We always have a choice,
You always get to choose.
always get to choose. Uh,
Hmm.
and I chose this summer to sit, as Sean would say, sit down, sit down.
Have a seat.
You're going to sit down, right? You're going to do some sitting down. One,
Have some
one,
sit down.
yeah, one of the really big blessings of moving to Oregon was I have my Jesus desk, and it sits on the other side of my office. And I spent a lot of time there. And I really looked at what is the orphan spirit, and I looked at what is codependency. And so often we're told, don't even explore it, because then you might be putting a label on yourself, and only God can do that. And what I personally discovered was, in my fear of even looking at it, really was blocking me from
Mhm.
what God had for me.
Mhm.
And so that's what the book is about. It's about looking at the hard parts of our story, where the lies may have crept in, where we might have, created a hardened heart without even being aware, the distractions, the things that were said. And we know that, the enemy is, he's not creative, he's a repeater. And so
Mhm.
he takes those things that he doesn't know what's in our mind, but he knows our triggers, right? And he knows
Mhm.
how to trigger us. And my one story that my first story that I learned about was in my mid 30s, late 30s, that I was actually paid not to speak.
Mhm.
um, Not out of malice, but the enemy took it, and he ran hard, and he ran way out with that story. And
Mhm.
then over the years of realizing that my trigger is I'm annoying, and the
Mhm.
enemy can reinforce that very easily. And so this summer was really, really working on my identity and who I am in Christ. And nothing can take that away. You may think that my behavior is annoying, but that does not mean that I am annoying. And so that has been really learning to separate the feelings from the reality. So, yeah, you might think I'm annoying. You might think I'm annoying right now because I'm talking too much and I'm not letting you get a word in edgewise. But that doesn't make me annoying.
I do have a question though about
Yeah,
the being paid not to speak. At what age? Because you said 30. You weren't paid not to speak at 30. This
I
you
was paid
discovered it
not,
at 30.
I discovered it at 30,
You
35.
discovered it. What was the age that the actual incident happened? Do you know?
5 or 6.
About 5 or 6. So I just want to be clear for the people that are watching. 5 or 6 is a very formative time in the heart and mind of a child. Children develop their emotional centers by 7. So 5 and 6 is you're in the thick of the development, and the weed that was planted was, I don't want to hear your voice. The 5 or 6 year old doesn't have the ability to understand and process that except for through their little brain. So that little brain said, you don't want to hear me talk? That must mean I'm annoying. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put a coping mechanism on it to avoid feeling that way and annoying you, that is going to carry over into my adulthood unless it goes checked. Is that accurate?
It is, but this is how conniving the enemy is. He built on a lie that was established way before 5 or 6.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Talk about it.
you know, I was conceived in probably 1966, the end of 1966, because I was born, right. I might have been a New Year's baby, right? Christmas Eve baby. I was born at the end of August.
Yes,
So right in there,
there
right?
was champagne.
That's when I was conceived. The Vietnam War was going on,
Oh.
and my dad married my mom early. They eloped because they kept my dad out of the draft. So there was a lot of shame. There was a lot of lies. My
Mm.
I just learned a month or so ago that my mom's type. I kind of knew it, but I was helping her with some password stuff, and it says the password was what is your most important job, and she wrote wifey. So my mom always wanted to be a wife, always, and I knew that, but that was the first time it was actually confirmed. So my mom always wanted to be a wife, and my mom always wanted to be a mother, always. Like that was who God created her to be. And her best friend back in the day was married to the drummer of, oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Holy guacamole. The Grateful Dead.
Oh, well, wow.
Yeah. So
Oh,
she was, yeah. So she was,
she must have been a baddie.
oh yeah. So, so here she is living in this life, right? And in a time where women were burning their bras, and my mom wanted to be a traditional woman. And so you can just imagine everything. And we grew up in the Bay Area. I was born in the Bay Area. I was born at Stanford Hospital. I mean, so we were in the thick of San Francisco, Berkeley. I mean, well, I wasn't. They were,
Progressive. This progressive, liberal, live your life, do you,
right.
boo.
And my mom was like, that's not who I want to be. And so imagine all of that being in me as I'm, being formed in my mother's womb, with this tug, this desire to have me, but a society that was telling her, you're making wrong choices. This is not who, maybe in the Midwest it was a little bit different, but not in California. And I came out a lot. I know that. I've always had a voice. I've always been a chatterbox. So I can only imagine what I was like as a little girl. My mom and dad had some marital issues and some problems. And my mom, for most of my life, was a stay-at-home mom. And she did work for a little bit when I was young. And so I can imagine, as we both are parents. You come home from a hard day worth of work, and you've got this little person who's just all up in your business. And the earliest formed memory that I have is I was told to go to bed. And I was probably a year and a half. So able to climb, get out. I'm self-sufficient at that point, right?
Yes, you're mobile. You're mobile, fully mobile.
I'm mobile. And I have this memory that I walked out, and I don't believe the words were ever said, but you know how parents, how we do, like,
Oh yeah. Yeah, what? Yeah.
what?
Go to bed.
Again?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yes.
I told you to go to bed. What are you doing? And so that was where I believe my "you are annoying" was first brought into who I was. And then throughout the years and the decades, it has
Mhm.
been reinforced over and over and over and over again. And it really, I just turned 58 on August 30th. And I don't believe I was truly set free from all of that until my birthday this year. So at 58,
58.
um, 58 of walking through a lot of lies and not knowing how to unbelieve them.
That's a key. Unbelieve them. I have one of my lessons from the journey spin-offs is unparented. And I love getting to come here. I feel like lessons from the journey is really my platform. It's my playground where I get to fully be LaShawn Ronette Lavon's Brown. And that's a big deal for me because I haven't used LaShawn. As a matter of fact, I don't know that there's too many people. I don't even know that my kids really understood that my name was LaShawn. My son actually said, "Oh, your middle name's Ronette?" Because when I got married, I couldn't wait to get married. Like I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get the stain of LaShawn off of me. And Dre was talking to me the other day, and he goes, "I remember when you said I hate her. I hate LaShawn. I don't want to deal. I don't want to be around. I don't want her as part of my life." And so Sean L. Brown was born, right? Sean, well, it was Sean Brown. And I went through a couple of variations, Sean, because I didn't want to be attached to anything at first. I just went like, the formerly known as Prince, right? I just became Sean. Like that's all you just call me Sean. Then it was uh when I got married, I did for a second. I was LaShawn Lavon's Brown. But what's interesting? The more pain that I experienced, the more I blamed it on LaShawn. You know, I can now, as I've been going through this process of being unparented and unbecoming and re-becoming and discovering me, I felt like she was the cause of every bad thing that happened in my life. It was her decision making, it was her look. She was too fat, she was black, her hair wasn't perfect, she wasn't pretty, she wasn't, it was all these things that I wasn't. And so I just, in my heart and mind, where you were paid not to speak, I just believed that I wasn't worth anything. So I was always becoming something else, always becoming. So, LaShawn became Shawnee, and Shawnee was IE at first, and then she was stupid. So then we dropped the IE and it became EE, and EE had an edge, and she weren't messing with EE, but then EE got caught up. And so then it just became Sean. We ain't messing with EE, we're not messing with LaShawn. Then I was like, okay, I got married. So now marriage makes me valid, so I can become LaShawn Brown or LaShawn Lavon's Brown. I thought Lavon's was kind of cool and unique. I was like, yeah, let's keep that. Get rid of Ronette because that's dumb. And now let's be LaShawn Lavon's Brown. Well, then as I went through life as LaShawn Lavon's Brown, very painful things happened. I was like, F that. Get rid of the law because the law obviously is the problem. It's the law, and then cut off the Avons and just give me the L. Sean L. Brown, born. She's not letting anything happen. She's composed. She's cool. She knows what to do. And she's a part of the hair doctor comes off of Sean L. Brown, the hair doctor, and the hair doctor can do everything. But what I didn't realize until this year, 2025, LaShawn is the core of all of it. Whether it's Shawnee B, whether it's the radio therapist, Coach Shawnee, It all is rooted in LaShawn. So the Unite and Change the World Together mission and Live Well Together movement has to begin with me being myself and Stephanie being herself. I've been watching you on TikTok and been watching you. I watch you on all the platforms. So I watch you on TikTok, and then I watch you on Facebook, and then I see it on Instagram. So I see it on all. But I am so proud of you. Can you please tell us about your purpose? The word purpose, I call it your purpose word. Talk to me about your
Transform-
purpose word.
Transformation is my purpose word. And if I go back and I look at my going backwards, I was always transforming something, right? Whether it was helping the teacher in the classroom so that things were better, transforming her inbox into something clean. I just always have loved seeing something here and then seeing it here. Like that progression has always been something, it's just a part of me. One of the things that is a byproduct of being paid not to speak is I definitely got quiet. And as I got quiet, I don't know if I just learned how to use my brain differently, but I see things differently. I
Mhm,
process things differently.
mhm,
And that's part of the transformation, right? And God's given me just these really cool things. Like I can look at something and be like, "Hey, we should do that," or "Hey, we should do that."
mhm,
And even though I was a shy introvert, I love community. I love to be in community. And in community, what I've discovered is where we really heal and grow in community. That's what we do. And so if you look at my purpose is, and I think also because for so many years I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel seen, valued, heard. So, creating community and creating spaces where women get to show up and be themselves. And, Sean and I have I mean, we've got so many hours of conversations, you know, and we're both doing something similar, different but similar. And I
mhm,
love that God gives the same vision to different people so that we can be us, right? I could never be Sean, and Sean could never be Stephanie, but we both have this vision of transformation. Sean's vision is to unite and change the world. Mine is, so her vision is God's given her a bigger vision, which is cool, right? Like I get to stand and I get to support her and I get to cheer her on. It's not like, oh, why didn't God give me that vision? Why did Sean get that vision? Why does she get to play in the bigger sandbox? Like that's just so dumb, right?
mhm.
That's not kingdom.
No.
We're doing kingdom work, kingdom business. And what I get to do is I get to help women be who they were created to be. And I say without apology. Sean says it her way, but saying
Same thing.
we're both saying the same thing.
Mhm,
And that is what I love about being kingdom minded, doing kingdom work is, and I say this all the time in my way, is there's no competition in the kingdom. Uh, because he being God, did not give Sean a direction and give me a direction to set her up for success and me up for failure or vice versa. But what we have to do is we have to be us. Like Sean has to be LaShawn, and
mhm,
I have to be Stephanie. Because if we deviate off of who God created us to be for such a time as this, we'll never get the fullness of what He's positioned us for, right? And that I think is something that we have both learned kind of in parallel, right? You've had your version of healing. I've had my version of healing. You've been there for mine. I've been there for yours. Um, and it is so yeah, I love to see things change. I
Grow.
love to see
You know,
transformation.
I love when you came into the revelation that we heal and grow in community, right? Because I was experiencing it inside of Tapestry. I'm like, I'm healing and growing in this community, right? I'm like, Stephanie, that's what's happening in here. I think your brand is this, and the fact that you got the transformation. Let me tell you, people, how we really get, I guess, enmeshed in the relationship, right? We really get integrated. Stephanie invited me to a Christmas event. It's December 5th, 2018. How do I know? Because it's the day my transformation journey began. And it's the day I began healing and growing in community. I, Jackie, Jackie, tell me your last name again.
Turner.
Turner. Jackie Turner was the guest speaker at the event that night. And I believe it was within, I don't know, 5 minutes of her talking, I had a complete panic attack for
I
the
think you need to.
first.
I think you need to give a little bit of the backstory of Jackie because the
Can you,
parallel.
I feel like you can do it better than me.
So both Jackie and Sean are African American, and both Jackie and Sean have have a similar childhood. They were both locked in closets. They were both fosters. They both had parents that didn't in the moment they didn't want them. Jackie was actually adopted in her 20s by a white family. They're both singers. They're both dancers. So
I don't
there's
dance. I don't dance. I
right.
rap. We're both rappers, singers,
You're
rappers.
both, but you got rhythm. You got rhythm, friend.
Okay.
You got
Okay.
rhythm,
Maybe.
and you got rhythm. And so I think in that moment of, and she was like telling her story. She was
Flat
not
footed.
she was not holding back her
No.
story, and I believe that it was seeing somewhat of a mirror of yourself on that stage. I think if the chick that had been up there was white and her story, it was because there was such a similarity to what she was sharing that I believe that exposed parts of you that you hadn't looked at in a very, very long time.
It was
Maybe
like a
even
blind
ever.
side. It was like a
Yeah.
straight up blind side. That, I mean, you know, all these years later, I can see it more clear, right? I was fine. Well, no, 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 no. Let me tell you, I wasn't fine, but I wasn't bad, right? I had flown in, staying with our friend Karen Penfold. Never stayed at Karen's before. She offered me a place to stay. It was just the whole thing. It was so serendipitous. It's crazy. Um, Karen happened to be starting her journey as a trauma recovery yoga. I don't know what you call it, specialist or
Practitioner.
practitioner, whatever that is, right?
Right.
So we go to the event, and I'm greeting people, meeting people. The whole net. I am a networker to my heart. So this was my jam. Um, when I sat down, I was really engaged, ready to hear the speaker, and I promise you, my heart was racing so fast as she was talking, and it was like a movie. And it felt like I just started seeing images whoosh, 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 like that. Things that I had pushed back down. Remember, I told you when I left Sunnyvale, I left with $35 to my name. I quit my job. I packed my stuff up. I had enough money for my first month's rent. I didn't have a job. When that lets you know somebody's running. I was running from that life. And I was content to package that the first 24 years of my life, package it 25 if we count in utero, package them up and bury them, and I never wanted to see her, them, they, it ever again. But that night, the Lord was like, perfect. Perfect. And let me tell you the circumstances that led up to how he did meet. 2017, my car is coming up to for its lease renewal. So in 2016, they start, your lease is gonna be up. I like to lease cars. I like nice cars. I like new technology. So it just was easier for me. The Lord say, you're not gonna get a new car. Well, I had had a car since I was 17 years old. And before I had that car, I felt like a worthless human. That car, I didn't realize it then, but it became a symbol of my freedom. So the Lord was like, yeah, you're not getting a car. I go, oh, so you mean I have an Infinity? So you mean you want me to get a cheaper car? No, you won't have a car. I was like, he can't mean that. I can't even fathom that. What do you want me to do? Walk? What am I going to do? Well, 2017, March came. I went in to go turn in my car. Now, anybody who's ever leased a car, they are chased. I never missed a payment. Great credit. I figured, and I had gone to go work out my trainer that month. He's like, oh my God, they're going to offer you some sweet deal. He's like, oh my gosh, you're probably going to leave there with a car payment of like $150, $200. That is not what happened at all. I got to the car dealership. They said, okay. They searched my car, looked at everything, took the keys and said, okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. I'm like, you don't even want to try. I don't have a vehicle. You don't even want to try to sell me a car. I took a slow walk because I thought if I walk slow, somebody will come run after me. And there was nobody in the dealership that night, just me. That's when I knew God wasn't playing. But what I got to see within the first, 24 to 48 hours of not having a vehicle was my arrogance. And my arrogance was really wrapped in the fact that my coping mechanisms were being exposed and removed. And he just started doing it little by little. And then he took away my ability to work. So then he dropped me down. He said, now you're going to cut your hours down. Once my son graduated from high school, he said, okay, now you're going to cut your hours down at work to 2 days a week, 4 clients a day max. That's 8 clients. My rent, let's do the math, in my business, just in the salon, was $1,400 a month. And he was like, cut it down to 8 clients a week. Just so you understand, I built a business that had almost 1,000 clients. Okay. And he's like, cut that down. And I had 4 assistants at one time. Get rid of no assistant. So now it was just me. He stripped me completely. Then the very next year, 2018, we were moving down to Southern California. I'll never forget it. I was driving up Elk Grove Foreign Boulevard, and he was like, turn over everything to your husband. Your credit cards, your everything, and turn around. He said, I'll give it all back to you, but turn it all around. Turn it all in. And what I know today, 2018 was the beginning of becoming LaShawn. LaShawn was trapped in a closet. And Jackie was the rescue team that God sent. And Tapestry was the triage unit. And parts of Tapestry were the rehab center. Because it takes a community to help you put your life back together again when it has been completely dismantled. And Satan loves for us to leave our issues unaddressed because they don't get better. They fester like an infection. And then they manifest in brain tumors and cancer and depression and infections that don't heal and relationships that are broken. It's savage. So the healing is savage, but the breaking is savage. So you have to choose your heart. And I want to say to you, Stephanie, without Tapestry Network, without Stephanie Sherwood, and without your mission of transformation, I would not be sitting here. This platform would not exist. I don't even know, and I'm very honest, I don't even know that I would be alive. And this is a truth. This Drea tell you, I tried to jump out this window head first right here when we first got here, and all my things were taken away. It was like being naked, and I had nothing. I had no hair doctor work to go to. I had nothing that made me, my credit was I mean, like, I had nothing that made me me. I wanted to die. And little by little, God was forcing me to confront areas. Karen gave me the trauma yoga. We did trauma yoga virtually. I was so stuck in so many ways. But if you had seen me as hair doctor on TV, experienced me, and so Chanel Brown got it together. But underneath Chanel Brown was LaShawn Ronette Lavons, and she was suffering in there. And God loved me enough to send Tapestry Network and Stephanie Sherwood. Notice I'm Black and they're white. And then when I say they're white, it's I'd say 99.99% white. But I don't think that's by accident either, because I'm called to unite and change the world together. And that means that everywhere that racism exists, everywhere that there's pain and hard conversations that need to be had, somebody has to be willing to do the work to bring us all together. Stephanie was willing to get in this ring with me. I was willing to get in the ring with her. It's not like our relationship has been without challenge. Trust me, there has been some ding ding round one, ding ding round two, bunk you, I'm out. And God says that you're not out. Get back in there and do this. So I say all that to say transformation is your business, and I am living, breathing proof that you create methods that transform the Christian woman in the marketplace. If I'm not the testimony, I don't know who is. If I'm not am I the testimony, Steph?
You are our walking, living, breathing, beautiful billboard of what the Tapestry Network is capable of doing. And Sean is one of our stories, and she's not the only story. Um, we have had women. Sean's not the only woman who was willing to even consider ending her life. We've had many over the years. We've had women who walked away from God and was like, pound sand, peace out, I'm done. And they've come back. We've had women who have been at events and have decided that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And they have, and again, not that anything that I would have ever thought about when we started this. Transformation begins with obedience.
Absolutely.
If you're not willing to be obedient, not to say that you're not going to stumble and fall and fight, because we do, we're human, but transformation happens with obedience. Mm-hmm. And it was out of my personal pain story of looking for something that I could be, tapped into, woven into, those are our words. I couldn't find anything. And I was heartbroken that we all have our own personal rock bottoms. Everybody's rock bottom is different. It's your own unique story. So again, I don't have what I would call the train wreck, reach your bottom story, but I have my bottom story.
Absolutely.
And so in my bottom story, that's how I came back to the Lord. I accepted Jesus when I was a little girl, 5 or 6. A lot happened to me when I was in my 5 to 6 age range. And in that, coming back into relationship, not just knowing, like I've never walked away. Like I know there's lots of people that are like, I'm out, I'm done. I'm going to go explore all of the other things, or I'm just going to say, I'm an atheist, or I just don't believe in anything. I never did that. Uh, but I did come back into relationship with God when I hit my rock bottom. And in that season of like really falling in love with Jesus, for the very, very, like falling in love with him. And I love the marketplace. And I know that that's where I was called. I was called to the marketplace. And so Tuesday night Bible study, I'm at a mega church. There's like 1,200 of us. 98% of us are in the marketplace, whether I'm an employee, an employer, a teacher, first responder, we're in the marketplace, right? And I learned very quickly in that space that I could talk about work if I was out of a job. I could talk about my horrible husband if that was my story. I could talk about my disrespectful children. I could talk about, if I was sick or an important person to me was sick, but we didn't talk about business. And in that season, I was struggling with where I was at. And I was like, something needs to change. And I didn't have anywhere that I could have that conversation. So I didn't want to just go to, a friend who was maybe smart and savvy in the marketplace. I wanted like biblical stuff. Like somebody could say, go open up your Bible, go read this story, go figure out, go talk to this person, go talk to that person. And they're like, that we don't do that here. And I'm like, if we don't do that here, where do we do it? Where do we do it? Right. So then I go back out into the marketplace and I learn really, really fast there that I don't get really quick that I don't get to talk about Jesus. And I was like, all right, this is not how God created us. He did not create us to be fragmented. He's not fragmented. Go read Genesis. In the beginning, us. So it's always been God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. The Trinity is community. And if we were created in his image, then we were created to be in community. We were never meant to do life alone. And so as I started looking and I couldn't find anything, and I was in a dark place. Like I needed good Christian fellowship, sisterhood. My marriage was a mess. My business was a mess. I needed somewhere that I could talk about me as a woman holistically. And it was out of my own, and like I had my business that I was working, the company I was working for, I had my own business, and I was like, everything was falling apart. It's like, where do I go? Where do I go? And so I started looking for things, and I could find some really cool, business Christian groups, but they were what I would call the one-off. They were in Timbuktu, Texas. Well, that's great for you. That doesn't help me. Or I could find, organizations where you had to be doing, a minimum of $1 million worth of business. Or you were the retired or soon to be retired, C-suite executive or high executive, and they were all dudes. Well, I wasn't that, and I personally don't want to be I say this, I don't want to be a token female. It's not what I was called to. I wasn't called to break a glass ceiling. I know some women are. I applaud them for what they've been called to do. But I am called to serve entrepreneurs. And so I was sitting on my couch almost 15 years ago, and I was like, God, what do we do? What do I do? And he's like, you're going to create it. And I was like, oh, really? That's super cool. Because I've got absolutely no experience in creating a membership-based organization, but I had worked for one, right? How do I serve entrepreneurs? I don't know what they need. Well, yeah, you do because you are one, right? Um, how do I help women? Well, you are one. How do you help women that are married and have kids? Well, you are her. And it was just all of this stuff that it was like everything that you're telling me you want, what's in your hand, sweet daughter?
Ooh.
In your hand. I've been equipping you. So that what I can't do the math, whatever 58 minus 15 is, would that have made me 43 at the time? He's like,
Sounds good.
that sounds good, right?
Yeah, sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
We'll go.
I was in my mid 40s. He's like, you've lived a life. I've given you. And so one of the things that Sean recently challenged me with was go create your own personal brand logo. And so I did. I spent 3 days praying, thinking, drawing, all of the things. And what we finally came down to was polka dots and butterflies. And all of my favorite colors, you can tell I'm kind of a pink, gold, and green girl, right? So I got,
I wore pink for you today.
thank you. And I was like, okay, God, I don't want this to be, I want it to be me, but I want it to be you first. Like, I want it to sing to my soul. If I need to, and one of the things and what you said without saying it was God asked you to lay down all of your sacred cows. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm gonna lay it all down. If you don't want my logo to have pink, yellow, and green in it, that's okay. Like I'm laying it all down. We're gonna rebuild this from the ground up, and you're gonna define what this personal logo needs for me. And I have loved polka dots. Polka dots bring me joy. Polka dots
Mhm.
delight. I have loved polka dots since I was a little girl. I mean, like a little girl, polka dots have been my thing. And since I've been doing the Tapestry network, and I've always said, I love how God connects the dots. Love how he connects the dots. He's a dot connector. He loves polka dots. So for him to give me, and I was trying all of these different things, and then it was like, oh, polka dots. Like I hadn't thought about polka dots in a while. And he's like, polka dots. So I put this polka dot ring around my logo. And it was as if in that moment he was saying, you're wrapped in me. I've connected all of these dots for you, and
Ooh.
you get to sit in the center of it. And I had just come off 3 days of prayer with Sean and Pastor B, and it was I don't remember if it was day 2 or day 3. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. But as I was praying, um, I actually said, I'm worthy. And it was like the first time. I mean, I've said it before, but there was this, and I'm worthy because of Jesus. I'm not
Yeah.
worthy because I'm Stephanie Sherwood. I'm worthy because of Jesus. But that was the first time I had ever said it. And truly, like, there was the heart mind connection of what that
Yes.
means.
Yes.
And then I get this beautiful logo. And my my initials when I was born, my government name is Stephanie
Mhm.
Morin. So I was Sam. So
Mhm.
Sam always made me just kind of a little, like, I always thought that was really cool because back in the day, girls didn't have boy names, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
my grandma called me Sam, and I love that. And it was kind of edgy and a little bit of sass. And then I got married, and now I'm Stephanie Ann Sherwood. And so now I am officially Sass. And
Fast.
I'm Sass, right? And so all of those things that the enemy tried to take from me, um, like I was created for funness. Like I
Mhm.
love that word. And that was something that was taken and stolen, and God's redeemed it, right? Because God's a redeemer.
He
And
sure
so I have this beautiful, and the butterfly, because it's, my personal brand is transformation. So what do you think of most when you think of transformation, especially as a girl? You think of a butterfly, right?
is.
So SAS makes this beautiful butterfly. And I love whimsical, I love soft and I love fun and I love just all of that. And so this logo, he gave me back everything that truly makes me happy because I was willing to surrender no sacred cows. God, what do you want this to be? Does my butterfly need to be teal? Does my butterfly need to be, blue or orange? And it was like, no, you get to be you. You get to be the you I created you to be. You do not need to apologize. And you know what? I don't care if anybody likes my logo or not,
Come
because
on.
it's mine. It was
Mhm.
created just for me. And I think that's one of the things that happened this summer was letting go of, I would not say that I was a full blown codependent, but I definitely had codependent tendencies.
Mhm.
And God has taken what I've learned over the last 2 years, and He's given me moments of opportunity to put into play what I've learned. And so, having hard situations come up, and I didn't go to my default. I
Mm.
went to the healed version of me, not the broken version of me. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter anymore. Like, I get to be me. I get to be healed. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be triggered and I'm not going to fall and all of that because we're human. But I get to be healed. I get to be the healed Stephanie now.
Mhm.
And the healed Stephanie is much different than the broken Stephanie. Praise God, right? Like,
Right.
really praise
Right.
God.
Right.
And that is, that's a lot of work.
It is a
It's
lot of work.
it's a lot of work. It's worth it, but it's a lot of work. And you really, and Sean's had me interview her a few times over the years. And she will always say, I don't want to know what you're going to ask me. I just want to know what God is going to do. And one of the things that has been so inspiring watching you, since like I've known you, like I've known you for a long time.
Mhm.
I've known you for over 20 years now, which is just crazy.
Wild.
Yeah, wild. Um,
Mhm.
so when I was working for this other organization, Sean was the first person that I booked to be my speaker, and she had just come off of brain cancer and surgeries and all of that. So, Sean and I go way back. And so, like, we knew of each other for years, but we didn't really start building a relationship until about what's going to almost be 26. So, probably 8, 9 years ago now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the things is watching you strip down the identities that you have plastered on you. And we were with a conversation. It was a bunch of us, and it was Sean and Dre were on. Dre was on the call too, and she was asking me a question, and I'm like, I don't want those things. Yeah, they're a part of who you are. They are, and they're important. Not saying that those parts of you and the things that you've worked on and the skills and all of those things, those are important. But I don't want that. I want
Mhm.
I want you. And so for you to come on here tonight owning and loving LaShawn
Mm.
and coming with, I'm gonna tell a little backstory secret. She's like, I purposely came on naked tonight, no makeup, no, nothing, just I'm stripped down. This is me, and I have to tell you that this you is like the most beautiful you that there is, because this is the owning who God truly created you to be. And that doesn't mean that when we step into our full identity that there's not pain associated with it, because there is. God did not say that life was going to be easy and rosy and full of unicorns and rainbows. what I do know to be true is I've watched you grow, and the conversations and the situations that you have so graciously allowed me to be a part of, right? Because there's been some really delicate things that
Yeah.
I've been truly honored
Hmm.
to sit with you in, right? Like the just, and I'll let you tell anything that you know, what I won't say anything more than that, but it has truly been an honor and a privilege, and it is not anything that I ever take lightly, that God has allowed me to be a part of those really tender parts of your story. And then to see you sitting here today owning who you are and saying that I don't want her, I want to embrace her, and I can't be fully me until I do. From where we were December 5th of 2018 to, that's 7 years almost, right?
Hmm. 7 years this year.
7 years this year of watching that journey and having not a front row seat to everything, but truly having a front row seat to a lot of it. Um, it's transformation, right?
Transformation. It's
It's trans-
transformation. And it cost you. It
yeah.
cost me everything. It cost me everything. It cost me relationships. It cost me what I think. It cost me the career I love. It cost me all the things I thought I built. It cost me my coping mechanisms. It cost me relationships with my kids at times because those had to be broken down and reestablished. They don't know me, right? They only know me as the package I present. So they don't know LaShawn, right? And it's not like I hid my story, but I was able to tell it from the closet, if that makes any sense, where I I experienced my story from the outside in. I had to get inside of my story. I had to actually feel to heal. And I did not want to do that. I did not I didn't I have yelled at God several times and said I don't even understand why it's necessary to feel it. I know it happened. You know it happened. Let's just get on to what I'm here to do so we can get it. But that's not his goal. His goal is for us to be mature and complete, lacking nothing. And when I read that, I was like, oh, well, so you're telling me count it all joy whenever I encounter trials of various kinds. Yes, Shawnee, what I'm saying is you getting a new house. But before we can give you a new house, we have to demolish the old one. So stop fighting the demolition process. Count it joy. Woo! Do you know how every time I watch a makeover show, I think about God in this way? They always celebrate the teardown. They give the people the sledgehammer and they cut. But that's what needs to happen in our real life. He give you the sledgehammer. Go to work. Tear that mother sucker down. Tear it all the way down to the studs. You getting a new house. I love my new house. And I just told my husband today, because I sit in my closet, I taste my closet time. I said, I was born for this. I was born for this. I was born for everything that happened, good, bad, and ugly. Because here's the thing, people, you cannot have a testimony without test. You can't. You cannot fulfill purpose without overcoming. My favorite coach, Shawnee, and I tell you, there would not be a coach Shawnee if there was not a Stephanie Sherwood and a Tapestry network. But my favorite coach Shawnee saying is, your problems and your pain points reveal your purpose. Your problems and pain points reveal your purpose. Your purpose, unpacked and developed, becomes your products. There's too many people trying to get to products without problems and pain points. So you've experienced the problems and pain points, shoved them in a closet, and tried to create a product without going through the development process. Sorry, skirt, skirt, never going to work. It's not going to work. Believe me, I tried so hard, and you know what you get? You get sick, you get wounded, you get confused, you get depressed. And I know we're running out of time. I just want to say this. I just finished watching John Candy's documentary on Prime just today. And in that documentary, he talks about severe anxiety being himself. It was so difficult, and he literally died, really, I believe, from an anxiety attack. I really believe an anxiety attack that became a heart attack, and he died reading his Bible. So I sat in my closet talking to my husband in full tears, and I said, I don't want to be John Candy. I don't. And I said, when you don't deal, you can't heal. And when you can't heal, diseases of all kinds, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, they attack the body and they kill you and they kill the legacy. So I would rather confront, face, feel, deal, and just simply be me. And if you don't like me, that's okay, because there's a somebody out there that's for you. And I encourage you to find them because you need them. And now I'm coming to the place where, and that's what the John Candy documentary was called. I like me. I like me. I like me without the makeup. I like the bald patch that I have in the back of my head where the hair fell out after breast cancer. I like the scars on my breasts from double mastectomy. I love the scar on my thigh from when they had to remove the thigh fat to make my right breast. I love the scars in my scalp, and I wear my hair short so I don't hide them. I love the fact that I am African American. It is so dope. I love the fact that I can relate to anybody, black, white, Chinese, Mexican American. I don't care, because you know what? I love people. I love God's people. And I am willing to have the hard conversation because I'm crazy enough to believe that God can unite and change the world through the children he made. And I want to say this to you. I've heard this in the last couple of weeks. God don't have any grandchildren. That means we're all his children. I don't care what you believe, how you were raised. You're all his children. So we may as well learn to accept ourselves and accept each other and get about the business of being ourselves so our world can be a functional ecosystem the way God designed it to be. So, Stephanie, where can the people find you? Where can they find you?
On most of the platforms. So, but my websites are thetapestrynetwork.com. My other website is shecreateslegacypublishing.com. Sean has challenged me to show up on TikTok, so you can find me on TikTok as She Creates Legacy. My name is Stephanie Sherwood. Instagram, all the platforms. And I love creating and giving tools. Some are free, some are paid for, but God has given me that gift of creation, and I love to take that, and I love to help people find their story and develop their story. And one of the things, and I will just end with this, is everybody's story matters. Everybody's story matters.
Everybody.
And I gave myself, I coined this phrase, the good girl syndrome, because I didn't think my story mattered for a very, very, very long time. because we do live, and I say this, as crude as it is, we live in a train wreck society.
Yeah, we do.
And we want to hear the true, true, like big overcoming stories, right? Like I was an addict. I lived on the streets for 8 years and God set me free and look at me now. That's a really, really important story. And we need to hear that. We were on a Woven in Wednesday years ago, you, me, and another member. And she was apologizing because she had a good marriage. And
Mhm.
you're like, what are you talking about? I'm sitting over here fighting to, like, what am I even fighting for? Like, is a good marriage even
Doesn't
possible?
exist. I'm like,
Doesn't
does
even
this
exist.
exist?
Like, am I going to do all of this? And then am I going to get to the end of my life and realize that the good marriage is just a big old fat lie? And you're like, you need to share your story because a good marriage is possible. And I know Dre's listening, and marriage is hard, right? It's
Super hard.
hard. And I think we all aspire to have good marriages, but if we don't know that a good marriage is possible, then we're just going to be like, why am I doing
Right.
this? It's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. And if I don't tell people that it's possible to have two parents who come home every night clean and sober and provide you with a roof and a mattress and a pillow and a blanket and clean clothes and shoes that fit, if I don't share that part of my story, how does the person ever have hope for something different? And so both stories are important, but I know the enemy has really tried to keep my story quiet,
Mhm.
because if I'm not telling my story, and I'll just say this, one of our members, she's a women's pastor at her church, and it's an outreach church. And her daughter walked away from God years ago. She's come back now. But her thought was, God must not love me
Mm.
because I don't have a trial. We all have trials. They just all look different, right?
Different.
But God must not love me because I don't have something to overcome. Well, God loved her enough to give, he loves us all enough, and all of our stories matter. But if we're not telling the good stories, then you get a little girl who thinks that God doesn't love her because something horrific hasn't happened to her. That's not the God that we want people. We want everybody to know the fullness of who he is,
Just
not
tell the
just
truth. Just
to
tell
tell
the
the
truth.
truth.
Nobody's story should be bad or worse. It is what it is because
Yeah.
that's what it is. So to judge it as good or bad, what I know today, I got the story I needed to do the job I was created to do. I'm the
Amen.
color. I was born. I was all of the things because God said, I need LaShawn and I need her born to two 16-year-olds in Vallejo, California. I need her to be raised. I need her to go from foster care. I need her to grow up. I need her to go through the first 30 days of her life with no skin to skin, with no name. I need her to do that. That's going to make her a phenomenal grandmother, right? God can see the beginning from the end when he creates the seed. The seed is programmed. So he's not shocked that you're getting watermelons out of a watermelon seed because it was programmed to do that. But it has to go through the process because a seed undeveloped is just a promise. So it has to go through the process of burial and drowning and sprouting out of its own body. Are you kidding me right now? So, nature, creation, which, by the way, if you read your Bible, you would realize we were created on the sixth day. So, everything else was created before us. We're in the blueprint of of creation. Okay, don't. That's why we're going to do Bible study at Tapestry. I can't wait. So now let me just close with this because we talked about stories. And Danielle, this is for you because I know you're going to watch this and I got Bible for everything that we just said. And I'm giving you Matthew 13 from the Message version because I want to make it clear. I don't want you to be confused. Listen to what it says. And this is red letters, babies. So if you aren't Bible readers, the red letters are actually Jesus speaking. So you don't have to be confused about what he said. So I love the red letters. Now listen to what he says. The header is why tell stories? Can't make it up, right? Listen to this. The disciples came up and asked, "Why do you tell stories?" He replied, "You've been given insight into God's kingdom. You know how it works. Not everybody has this gift, this insight. It hasn't been given to them. Whenever someone has ready, pay attention and get your pens. Whenever someone has a ready heart for this, the insights and understandings flow freely. But if there's no readiness, any trace of receptivity soon disappears. That's why I tell stories, to create readiness, to nudge the people toward a welcome awakening. In their present state, they can stare till doomsday and not see it. Listen to their blue in the face and not get it. I don't want Isaiah's forecast repeated all over again. Your ears are open, but you don't hear a thing. Your eyes are awake, but you don't see a thing. The people are stupid. That's Jesus, BTW. The people are stupid, he said. They stick their fingers in their ears so they won't have to listen. They screw their eyes shut so they won't have to look, so they won't have to deal with me face to face and let me heal them. Not condemn you, not throw you out, not condemn you to hell, heal you. So that means you got to turn and face him so that he can heal you. And then he goes on to say, but you, those who listen, who take heed, turn to him, go through the crucible. But you have God-blessed eyes, eyes that see, and God-blessed ears, ears that hear. A lot of people, prophets and humble believers among them, would have given anything to see what you are seeing, to hear what you are hearing, but never had the chance. I don't take my life for granted anymore. Not 1 second of my life. Because what he said is the blessing of being able to hear him and be a vessel to be used so he can flow through, that's a gift. It's a gift. And it's not given to everybody. So I will never set down my ears that hear and my eyes that see, because it helps me to choose well. And when I make good choices, I'm choosing life and not death. So I'm going to close on that point right there, Stephanie. I told you I was going to have a blast, and I had a blast. I loved every second of this conversation like I've loved every second of our life together. And I'm excited about where we're going as a community, as a sisterhood, as a family. So thank you. I'll see you tomorrow morning, or I'll see you next Saturday morning at Soul Sister Saturday.
Saturday. Yes.
I
Soul
love me some Soul
This
Sisters.
little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let's go. Get on your mark, let's go. What you waiting for? There's so much more. Yeah. The future's yours. Let go, explore. It's yours for sure. Sing with me with fear. So to God I stay near. I keep my hand to the plow. There's no turning back now. My future look bleak. I decided to see. He said follow me on a journey you'll see. Get on your mark, let's go.